Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar, 3 Keys to Keeping ISAs on the Team with MAPS Coach Anna Krueger. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the MAPS Group YouTube channel. You may access the YouTube channel from your Zoom confirmation email, and we will also share the link in the chat momentarily. Currently, everyone's on mute. We do value group participation, so we ask that if you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the chat box below and they will be addressed throughout your webinar. Following this meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or our coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That is FASTTRACK@kw.com. And that's all for me, Anna. Take it away.
All right, well, perfect, everyone. Welcome to my car. I'm in a different location today. Unfortunately, but I think it should be okay. My dog is having emergency surgery, so I'm in the parking lot. So y'all can say a little prayer for her, and hopefully she'll be okay. So that's why I'm in my car, not usually hanging out in my vehicle doing professional webinars. But also, if you guys could turn your camera on, I do love being able to see your faces. I won't judge you. I mean, I'm in my car at the vet's office, so no judgment. And if you can't, that's totally fine. I'm looking forward to being with you today. And today we're going to be talking about 3 things to do to keep ISAs. So I'd love to actually hear from you in the chat box. Thanks for turning your cameras on. Great to see you guys. If you would, in the chat box, go ahead and tell me what brought you to this webinar. So I'm curious, do you already have ISAs? Are you thinking of hiring ISAs? I would just love to know the audience a little bit. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the 3 things. And then if we have time, which I'm pretty sure we will, I'll open it up to questions, really anything you have around hiring or leading ISAs. We can chat about that when we're all finished. So just for some context, if we have not met before, some of you I definitely recognize, but I've been an inside sales agent since 2006. Don't try to figure out my age. It's just not important. But I've been doing this a long time. I used to be a sales leader, a sales director. I've been a trainer. I've been an ISA. So I've learned a lot and I have failed a lot. So I want to help you guys skip some failure, learn from my mistakes, figure out how to keep ISAs on your team, and what some of the mistakes are to avoid. Y'all ready? Get your pens and paper. Okay, so I have a Facebook group with almost 6,000 ISAs in there, and I polled them, and I said, what makes you want to stay with your leader? And the top 3 answers are what I'm going to share with you today. So this is really coming from the ISAs in my Facebook group. Honestly, I'm not surprised. What they said is kind of what I suspected. And they confirmed it. Over 6,000 ISAs in that group confirmed this on a poll, okay? So number 1, the number 1 thing that I heard that they want from their ISA leader, and this is probably true for all salespeople, they want you to know their goals. And I'm gonna broaden this, okay? To really know a goal of a salesperson, and I'm saying salespeople because you probably have agents as well, it's more than just knowing their goal. I'm going to teach you some things to kind of dig into if you don't do this already, which you may. But number 1, you want to help them figure out not only how much money they want to make, but why. Why do they want to make that much money? What I find is a lot of people, myself included, as a new ISA, they just pick a number that sounds good. And for me, my first year in real estate, I said I wanted to make $60,000 because that's what I made in my last job. And I just thought it'd be cool to do that my first year in real estate. That is literally the only reason I said 60,000. So let me ask y'all a question. It gets to be July and you're behind goal. If someone picks a number just because it sounds good, how do you think that's going to go leading them when they're behind goal halfway through the year? Right? So this is all under number 1, know their goal. There's a couple pieces to it, but know their goal, but help them think through why. Help them think through why. In the class Mastering Inside Sales, which we're not talking about today, but I can if you have questions about it. But in that class, we give them what's called an allocation form, and I'll tell you what it is so you can use the idea of it. But we have them go through their finances. This is actually next week's homework in the Mastering Inside Sales class. So if your ISA is in there, they're going to get this. But we have them look at their finances, and if they don't have a budget, we say go back 3 months and figure out how much money it costs you to live. Then add in things like vitamins, I'm at the vet, so figure out vet bills. How much do your hair products cost you? What do Christmas presents cost you? Now add in taxes. So maybe you should add like 30% to that for taxes, depending on your tax bracket. That's going to give them a specific number that they want to make. And you don't need to answer me, but I'm curious, how many of you go that deep with your people when they're picking their financial goal? A lot of people don't. I didn't know to do that till someone trained me. So don't judge yourself, but I just want to help you do this right. So find out, why do the people on your team want to make the amount of money they want to make? It needs to mean something to them. Then that's kind of like part one of know their goal. Part two of knowing their goal is tie their activities to that goal. So for example, my leader, Haro at the time, we figured out, I knew I wanted to make 100,000. I had a specific reason behind it. We walked through all my finances. There was a reason I wanted to make 100,000. He then used my conversions, how many people I had to talk to set an appointment to get a closing. We used my numbers, and we figured out I needed to talk to 36 people a day. Now, him talking to me about communicating with 36 people a day was a completely different story than just talk to 40 people a day because that's our rule, right? Because now it was tied to my financial goal, which was not picked out of thin air. There was a reason behind my financial goal. So that's step number one. And the production that he wanted from me was about my goal, not his goal. Which, by the way, if you have, I'm just going to say it bluntly, because this is a call for leaders, right? If you hire people that are okay making less than the minimum you expect from them, I pretty much guarantee you will have a problem leading them, because they're going to be satisfied off that base pay. They're not going to be hungry. I have coached people since 2008. I've been in ISA since 2006. And I can just tell you, if people are not hungry and they are satisfied off that base pay that you're paying them, it is a real challenge getting them into production. I've seen it over and over. You might find a unicorn that just has a good work ethic and that's who they are. But generally speaking, once you know their financial goal, you won't really need to talk to them about your team goal, because the right ISA, their financial goal is going to exceed what you need from them. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. So the title of this webinar is 3 Things to Keep Talented ISAs. All of that was number one. So number one, know their goal. And the 2 parts of that was, number one, make sure you know their financial goal and why it's their financial goal. It can't just be some good sounding number. And then number 2, make sure you talk about their activities as it relates to their goal, not because it's just the rule of the team. Okay, so all that's number 1. That was the number 1 answer. So when I polled almost 6,000 ISAs, it's 5,700 ISAs in my Facebook group, that was the number 1 answer. They wanted a leader that knew their goal, talked to them about their goal, and tied their activities back to their personal goal, not just some team role. Okay, all right, number 2. The second thing that was, and I'm doing this in rank order, so this is the second thing that was most important to them. They wanted a leader that modeled for them what to do. Now, let me allay some of your fears. I've coached a lot of people. Someone just joined, I see you. I know you were talking to me about some of your fears. Hello. I have noticed a lot of leaders saying, I don't feel like I can hire an ISA. I don't understand them. They're different, and I've never done their job. Anybody here relate to that? Anybody? So let me just ask you a question, and I appreciate the honesty. Have you built a business big enough that you need to hire an ISA? Then you know lead gen, you know lead conversion. You know enough to help model for this person. Now, I'm not saying that maybe you've never called expireds, maybe you've never called FSBOs, maybe you've never done it all day. But let me ask every single one of you, have you talked to a human and turned them into a client that closed? Have you ever done that? Then you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Now, Kimberly, by the way, I love your facial expressions. Can you please come on every webinar I ever teach? I'm like getting so much energy from you. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing that's the challenge, and I'm just kind of chit-chatting here, okay? You're getting like Anna unfiltered. You might be the leader, and sometimes the first person on the team You don't really have a system. And we love you. But like your business grew because you have the personality, right? Like, I don't know. I just talk to people and they turn into leads. I don't really know. I don't know what I'm doing. So here's the thing. We need to help you get some systems in place. And that's what I'm here for. So you don't need to go figure all that out all by yourself. But it's still true that you've talked to leads and converted them into clients. So what your ISA wants from you is to listen to you as you make calls. And it's okay if they're calling a lead that you've never called before. They're still a human. I think I'm all wound up today. Excuse me. I'm getting over a cold, so please forgive me today. I think sometimes we get all in our head about, ooh, this is an expired lead, or ooh, that's a FSBO lead, or oh, it's an internet lead. At the end of the day, are not everybody they're just a human. They're just a human. They're just a human with a real estate need. So I want to give you confidence. If you're sitting here thinking, I don't know how to hire this person, there's some sort of weirdo who wants to be an ISA. I've never done this. I can't imagine being an ISA. Well, I don't ever want to be an agent. I don't want your job. And the thing is, you talk to humans, we talk to humans. You know more than you give yourself credit for. So I hope this gives you a boost of confidence. Let them hear you talk to leads. One of the best things that my leader did for me, Haro, I haven't been about 7 years, which is hard to imagine. One of the best things he did is he had an office somewhere else. He moved a desk into my area for 3 hours a morning, and we lead generated together. And I just heard him. And I started saying what he said. And I picked up his scripts. And I'll tell you, when I hired my first ISAs, I put them through some formal training. And Haro was like, you've got to get them on the phone, but you need to have them listen to you on the phone. Trust me. And I was like, no, I need to do more training. And he was like, I agree they need training, but they also just need to hear you on the phone. Well, do you know, I got on the phone and I had them listen. They were doing what I said on the phone way faster than what I taught them in the classroom. So let them hear you on the phone. There's also classroom training that needs to happen. I'm not saying it's not important, but I think we undervalue the significance of them hearing us. So have I beat this horse enough? Like, have you gotten the vibe? So number one, know their financial goals. Talk to them about why their activity is tied to their financial goals. Number one. Number two, model for them. Even if you've never been an ISA, you absolutely can model for them what an ISA should be doing talking to leads. You've got that. You've got it. I promise you. All right. The third thing, this is the third most common thing that I heard. And it's more of a what not to do. Do not devalue the role. Do not devalue the role. Aubrey and I used to be on the same team. So I don't know if you were on the team when this happened. Hi, Aubrey. And I love these agents, by the way. I would call them that they're like my brothers. So we had a brother-sister moment on my team one day. And I'm in the room and I'm the ISA. And they say the agent role is more respectable than the ISA role. So I was like, huh, excuse me. And I tried not to be arrogant. Like I wanted it to be okay with me that they said that. But let me share with you what a lot of ISAs where our heart is. And I know we have some ISAs on the call, which I'm so glad you're here. A big part of my motivation was helping the agents achieve their goals. I understood buyers and sellers, I pass them off. Like they're not actually my client. The buyers and sellers are ultimately not my client. This is how I thought of it. I viewed it like the agents are my client because I don't really get to talk to the buyers and sellers long term, but the agents, I understand that my role is a rain-making role. I am a job maker. So if I am doing my job right, I am providing jobs, I am providing income security, I'm providing opportunity for the agents on my team. So when that is your heart, imagine hearing the people that you're looking at as I'm here to serve them saying, well, our job is more respectable than yours. It really hurt me, truly. So trust me, we talked about it. Aubrey knows me because we were on the same team. We talked about it. But here's what I learned, and it was actually kind of my fault. You know why? We said when you come on the team, you start off as an ISA for your first 90 days. And then you become a buyer agent or a listing agent. So the way I was talking about it it made it sound like the role was one to graduate from. And that's actually not what I meant at all. What we actually meant was, man, if you can lead generate over the phone, you'll be a good agent, because lead generation is such high talent. Like, when you're good at that, you'll be a good agent. So we were actually meaning it like, when you're good at this, you'll be good at everything. But the way we talked about it made it sound like this is the role to move away from. Does that make sense to everyone? So now, I don't know what they do now, but at that time we said, okay, everyone starts off as an agent in training. And then after 90 days, you either become an inside sales agent, a buyer agent, or a listing agent. But everyone starts off as an agent in training. It is basically the same exact thing, but the way we talked about it elevated the role to be equal. But that is the number one thing that people leave teams over. I mentioned I have that group with 5,700 ISAs in there. I'm like the safe person that's on the internet that they private message. And it's hilarious. They don't ever say, hi, how are you? It's just like, nah, I want to leave my team, blah, blah, blah. And they just tell me all their stuff. And the number one reason people want to leave their team is because they feel disrespected on their team. And so some things you can do to help that. We've talked about what not to do. What can you do? Some things you can do to help that. Number one, make sure you don't talk about the role as if it's the starting role. It's a role. Honestly, guys, it's the lead generation role. And all roles are important. Please hear me when I say that. But can we all agree that if you do not have a talented lead generator, every other position goes away? So I'm not saying it's better than or less than, but I think we all understand if we don't have a working faucet, we don't have water coming out, right? The faucet's important, the spigot's important, but if the faucet's not working, we don't get water. Lead generation, if you don't have quality lead gen, you don't need operations, you don't need transactions coordinators, you don't need agents. So we really actually want to get someone in this role who sees it as a long-term opportunity that why would I ever want to leave? I love the schedule. I love what I get to do. This is awesome. So we don't want to talk about it like it's a role to leave. Got it? Something else you can do to help with not devaluing the role. One thing I love about Haro is as soon as we uncovered this issue on the team, he took immediate action to help change the way we spoke about it. So if an agent came into a meeting and said, yay, I just got an appointment signed, he would say, that is fantastic, Katie. Who set that appointment for you? And by him doing that over and over and over, and by the way, he also said, what operations people helped you with that? So he actually took it to the whole team. Like, yes, agent, you closed it, and we absolutely want to celebrate that because that was a lot of hard work. Who helped you on the team do that? And that really, really made a big impact. And I thought that was awesome that he took some immediate action. I really respected that. And what's neat is he didn't have to do that long before the agents started recognizing it on their own. He only did that maybe for a couple weeks. And then Tim might come in and say, yeah, I just signed an expired lead. Turns out Anna nurtured them for like 6 months. And that was unprompted because Haro's leadership got that culture ingrained into the team, okay? So to recap, the 3 things that you want to make sure you do to keep talented ISAs. Number 1, know their goal. And I went deep into it. If some of you joined late, I would go back and watch the recording. But to know their goal, you want to make sure you know why they have the financial goal. It's not just a number they picked. And then number 2, make sure their activity, when you talk about their activity, it's, we need this many contacts today so you can earn that $102,000 so you can pay off your house early. They're looking for that type of conversation from you. The second thing we talked about was making sure, oh my gosh, what was the second thing? Somebody help me out. You took notes.
A leader who models what they're supposed to be doing.
Thank you. Thank you. If you missed it, I'm in the vet's office. My dog is under emergency surgery. So I will admit, my brain is a little scattered right now. That's why I'm in my truck. So yes, thank you, Aubrey. The second thing was make sure that you're modeling what you are asking them to do. Now, listen, I never expected Haro to model every lead source I was calling. That never even entered my mind. I just wanted to hear him talking to leads so I could learn what to do. And then the third thing, make sure that you value the role. Make sure you talk about it with the respect it deserves. And I'll just say that's true for all roles. Operations, I feel like, I mean, everybody needs value, right? Like every role is important. And I have huge respect for operations. I love how their brain works. I could not survive without them. Agents, when I was in ISA, I used to think, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not the one writing the offer on Sunday at 2 o'clock. I'm so thankful for them. Like every role has a purpose. And we want to respect everyone on the team, not just the agent. Got it? Okay. Tell me something you learned, and then we have about 9 minutes where I can open it up to questions.
I really loved this talk around the goals. I actually just got finished having a coaching call with one of my ISAs. She hit 35 conversations in a day for the first time ever yesterday. And so, yes, yeah, it's something we've been working on. And so she was really, really pumped, and we reverse engineered that exactly. Like, so over the next 90 days, if you consistently hit 35 conversations a day based off your conversion numbers, what are you going to be able to see in your pocket? And what does this mean for you, your finances and everything? And so she actually is working on what she wants her financial goals to be and why between now and our next coaching call. So that way we can deep dive into that and tie that back to her actions. And
that's awesome.
Everything. So yeah,
I love that.
It's mirrored exactly just what you said. So thank you. I feel validated.
Congratulations. Yeah. Well, and I'll tell y'all, you just made me think of something else, Amy, and it's great to see you. I see you on these all the time. If you're having trouble with your ISA hitting their contact goal, just know 40 a day is normal. That's 20 before lunch, 20 after lunch, which let me ask y'all, when I said 40 contacts a day, that sounds like a lot, right? How did it hit you when I said 20 before lunch, 20 after? That just sounds so much better, right? And then what if I say 6 an hour for 6 hours? It's 6 to 7 an hour for 6 hours a day.
That sounds so doable.
Right. So I've noticed a lot of ISAs that I coach and their leaders like, oh my gosh, they won't talk to more than 15 people a day, which is horrendous. If you're hired to talk to people all day, it's like negligent in my mind that you only talk to 15 people. That's like completely unacceptable. I get really like, my face is probably getting red. But what I've noticed is those same ISAs, if we're like, let's break it down before lunch or after lunch goal, or if it works better for you, make an hourly goal. And inevitably, it's higher the next time we talk, if not hit the goal. So breaking it down into small chunks. So Amy, what you said reminded me of that. That helps. I do want to tell you all about resources, and then I'll open it up to questions. Paige, I'll come to you just next. We do have 2 classes that I'm passionate about it. I always feel funny, like I'm not trying to self-promote, but I also feel like it'd be really silly for me to know of resources and not tell you about them. So there are 2 resources. One class is called Mastering Inside Sales. There's 2 of them running right now. And ironically, next week is when we talk about financial goals. And the week after that is when we talk about like contacts to hit that financial goal. In one of them, it's called Mastering Inside Sales. It started in February. And if you want to get in this session, you need to sign up by the end of March, because then it closes. And we usually run it, and maybe you can help me out, Rodrigo. I don't know the date for the next one, but usually it's about once a quarter we'll launch one. And it's 6 months long. Several of you have been in it. I recognize you from class. If you want to say something about it, you can stick it in the chat box. It's 6 months long. And I look at it as you'll still need to train them locally, but the best way to do it, I've been training people since 2008 on inside sales. Let me help you. So I'll teach. Your job is just make sure they practice what I taught between the weeks and let me do the heavy lifting for you. Okay. So that's Mastering Inside Sales. Then the other class starts in 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from today. It's how to hire, train, and retain ISAs. And we go over this kind of stuff, except much more in depth. So it's 5 weeks, how to hire, train, and retain ISAs. We go over compensation models. We go over junior agent versus like a regular ISA. We go over, should they be local or virtual? Little known fact, I used to be a virtual ISA and a local ISA, so I can speak to both. So we're going to go over all that stuff, okay? And that'll be in the class, how to hire, train, and retain inside sales agents. I'm going to put the link for both in the chat box. They're all recorded. So if you can't join us live, it's no big deal. You can catch the recording. I'd love to see your faces, but just know if you have a schedule conflict, it's not a big deal because they are recorded. Okay, and that one starts in 2 weeks. Okay, what questions do you guys have? We have 5 minutes. I just put the links to both classes there in the chat box. Paige, go ahead.
Hey, so I'm just curious, obviously being an ISA, you understand what contacts are, but what would you consider a contact? Like somebody picks up the phone and you talk to them for even 2 minutes, or?
So there's a lot of ways teams define it. The way I define it is someone picked up the phone and they knew it was about real estate. So Paige, if I call you and I'm like, hey, it's Anna calling from the Horror Group, Keller Williams, thanks for taking my call. You were on our website last night. And you're like, oh, I'm not interested, click. I would count that because I said enough that I feel confident you knew it was about real estate.
As long as they know, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So as long as they know like that this is about real estate, like you would consider that a solid contact for the day.
I would. And counting it that way, Paige, with that definition, it usually takes 20 of those to set one.
Yep. Okay.
That will depend on your lead sources.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you have a mixture of lead sources, around 20 of those pickups, they knew it was about real estate. And some of them will hang up on you within 15 seconds, and some of them will be 5-minute conversations. But generally speaking, that's what we count as a contact. What I find is if you define it more complicated than that, say that we define it as a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if you think it's good and I think it's bad? Like it just gets complicated. So two-way conversation, they knew it was about real estate, even if they hung up on you.
Perfect. That clears that up. Thank you.
Perfect. Scott, I see your question about pros, cons of virtual and in person. That is such a lengthy thing. I'll do my best in a short answer. We talk about that at length in the class, just so you know. It's a good 15, 20-minute conversation. Here's the basic gist. ISAs are selling the agent. I know it probably sounds funny, but I'm selling the person. And so if I don't know you, it's really hard to sell you. That's the short answer. And I'll tell you, I was a virtual ISA and I felt this way. Local, it's just so much better. And I will also tell you, every single class I've taught, and it's now been, it's probably over 50 at this point, where it's for the leader when you add up all the years. I will say, does anyone have a long-term positive experience with the virtual ISA or virtual ISA company? Because if you do, I really need the name because people ask me all the time and I'm looking for someone to refer to. No one has ever had a referral for me. What they say is it was good until, and it usually is no more than 3 months. Now, I think virtual is great for a lot of other things. I have a virtual assistant. I am pro virtual stuff, just not for the inside sales role.
When you hire an ISA, sorry, just to follow up on that. When you hire, I'm ready to do it now. Would you suggest? I was thinking about doing 2 at a time, just to kind of build some camaraderie and teamwork, and have people work. Because it can be a long day when you're on the phone all day long.
Right.
I didn't know if you've found that.
I think if you have the budget for it, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I would even say if you hire 2 or 3, you'll probably net 1. Ideally, you'll keep all 2 or 3. But I do find the camaraderie helps, the competition helps. So if you can do that with your budget, I would definitely recommend it. I see pay structure. Again, this is like a 30-minute thing in the class. I'll answer you because we got 1 minute. Base pay plus commission, which means they need to be licensed. You can't pay commission if they're not licensed. And part of the draw for ISAs is I have unlimited earning potential because I'm licensed and I get commission. I'll tell y'all, I was unlicensed when I started. I felt like I had good work ethic. I'd been an ISA already for about 7 years when I came into real estate. I knew the thing. Something different changed in my mind when I got licensed and got commission. Because I suddenly started thinking, well, if I'm going to set 10 appointments a week, why not set $300,000 houses versus 150? But that had not even crossed my mind until I was licensed. So licensed, commission plus base pay. Normal commission is $2,000 to $3,000 base a month plus commission. I will tell you, I know of a lot of this is the last thing I'll say, and then we really got to go because of time. I've seen teams, and I don't know your budgets. So you're going to have to analyze your own budget and know what you can afford. I'm not your individual MAPS coach to say what's right for you. This is like general advice. If you want someone that's experienced that you can hire, that was like when Haro hired me, I'd been training ISAs for 7 years when Haro hired me. So I could just be hired and run the department. He had to pay me a lot more to get me on the team, but then he didn't have to think about the department anymore. So I've seen that with a lot of people. If you have the budget and you can pay like $40,000-$45,000 a year base plus commission, you're going to attract probably someone that can just run the department. They probably have experience, but you're not going to find that kind of person at $2,000 a month base. Most likely. Again, that's a general statement. So if you want to hire people that are green, you're going to need to train them, give them a lot more time, hands on the department, probably 2,000 plus base. 2,000 base plus commission. If you want to hire someone that can probably just run it, they've probably done this before, they've probably run a call center, you're probably looking at 40 to 45,000 base plus commission. So know your own budget. That's not something I don't know what's wise for you. I don't know what your finances are, but that's the gist. We are 2 minutes over. I'm going to let y'all go. Can I give you my good deed having nothing to do with real estate today? So y'all know I'm at the vet's office. I've done a lot of research the last 2 days. If you ever go to the vet, do not let them give your dog the medicine Momeditax. Can you see that right there? It is, oh shoot, it's Momeditax. It's an ear infection treatment. Apparently, it is known to cause deafness in dogs. And if your dog goes deaf, it has to be rinsed out immediately. My vet did not tell me this. And I posted about it on Facebook, and probably 7 or 8 people have said this happened to my dog. I wondered why they went deaf. So that's my good deed for the day. If you ever have your dog have an ear infection, do your research on the medicine. And if your dog goes deaf, you need to go get it cleaned out immediately. And your vet might not tell you that. So that is why I'm here. I think she'll be okay. I'm not doing this for like a pity party, but I wish someone had told me that. So you all are here. You're my captive audience. If you have a dog, don't give them that medicine. And if they do, get it taken care of right away if they lose their hearing. So, all right, guys, I really appreciate you being with me today. I hope to see you in 2 weeks, the class, How to Hire, Train, and Retain ISAs. Tell your friends. A lot of people don't know that class exists, and I'd love to fill it up. So let people know. And hopefully I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.